I went to a Chick-fil-A last week and I was dressed exactly like this, and the girl taking my order told me that I looked really cool. So this has been the only thing that I've worn since then. I've done the mid-year book, I don't remember the name, the mid-year book tag for the last 2 years now, which is kind of insane. This will be year number 3. I am a few months late, but I still wanted to do it anyways. Okay, I'm having a hard time seeing anything. Okay, the first question. What is the best book you've read so far in 2026? I had to go through and write down all the books that I've read this year, which I'm going to put it on the screen right here because I don't think I'm going to get to mention all of them in this video. But I totally forgot that actually I finished East of Eden this year. That's going to have to be my best book of the year. It sparked just such an immense love of John Steinbeck. Since reading East of Eden, I reread Of Mice and Men, which I had to read in high school. So much better the second time around as an adult. And I'm now just on a mission to read all of Steinbeck's work. So I have a list. I wrote down all of the things he's ever published, and I really want to read them chronologically and see like his progression as an artist or an author. Oh, I actually have. Oh, you're sitting on it. I'm using my Steinbeck collection as my holder for my laptop as I record. Okay, so I love these. These are the Penguin 20th Century Classics. I love these for the construction, the cover art. Really, they have awesome introductions. So this one's by Susan Schillinglaw. And this gave me such great context and information about Steinbeck and his life and about this work in particular, of course. And reading that introduction, it just gave me such a huge respect for what he was trying to do with his work and the problems with like labor laws in California that he was really passionate about, that he wanted to draw attention to, and a lot of his work centers around that. Since reading that, I'm just now on a Steinbeck mission. I don't have plans to like finish all his books in a year or anything, but like I really want to read all of his books. Okay, moving on. What has been your favorite sequel of the first half of the year? This was fun. So I started the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes in 2025, and I finished it in 2026. I read All In and Bad Blood, which are the third and fourth books of that series, and they were so good. It was such a fun time. I described this series as Criminal Minds, but with teenagers. So it's like these teens with special gifts that are recruited by the FBI to like solve cold cases, and then they end up like involved in some current cases. And it was just so much fun. I love the way Jennifer Lynn Barnes writes. She's such a smart writer. I believe she's also a psychologist or like a professor of psychology, and you can really tell she just knows how to write about really small aspects of like the human mind and behavior and psyche. It feels like a really smart book or series, but in a really accessible package for like, kids, teenagers. They were so like addicting and readable. The audiobooks were great. That was one of those series that like I read back to back, which is how I know I really love it, because usually I'll read a book in a series and put it down and like get back to it. But that one I just kept going and I finished it. And I'd really like to read some of her other series because she has a lot. Like she's really popular for the one with the brothers Hawthorne. That's one of the book names, but I don't know what the series is called. I'd like to try that one out. Is there a new release that you haven't read yet but you're excited to? I say this every year. I don't really keep up with releases all that much, but Yesteryear came out in April. I didn't know anything about it when it came out. There was this one Jack Edwards interview for the Odyssey promotion tour with Anne Hathaway, and he mentioned how he knows that she loves Yesteryear. And the book club at the school that I used to work at, some of the teachers, they're reading Yesteryear for the summer, so that was also part of it. And I started listening to it with my cousin in the car on a long drive, and we got like 3 hours into like a 12-hour audio. I was really liking it. It's about a woman, a mom influencer, homesteader type of vibe, like think Nara Smith, but it's all very performative and she's kind of not cool in her inner dialogue. Like she's kind of a bad person. She somehow gets sent back in time and like is now actually a homesteading mom and has to actually do the things that she masquerades doing on her Instagram. Yeah, I think the author has a really great voice, and I think this might actually be her debut, so that's super strong. I do want to finish that. What's your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? I had to look up books coming out in 2026 to answer this. The Knave and the Moon by Rachel Gillig is coming out on September 1st. And the 6th ACOTAR installment is coming out on October 27th. Both of these I'm interested in. I'm not going to go and like buy them on release day, and I don't know, maybe I could get myself like excited for one of these. Probably I'd say ACOTAR more than Rachel Gillig, because ACOTAR just has like a nostalgic special place in my heart because it was one of those gateway reader books for me. But I haven't finished A Court of Silver Flames. Like I never did finish that book, so I don't know if that's important to finish before this next one. I don't know if I'll end up reading them or not. What's your biggest disappointment so far? I have written for this question nothing really. If I read the whole thing, that means I liked it. As I was looking through the books I finished this year, nothing disappointed me, because if I'm like really not into something, I just stop reading it. So if I got to the end of it, that means I liked it. So the one thing that I would say is disappointing is that I did stop midway through Moby Dick, because I was liking it a lot for like the first 100 pages. I stopped liking it, so I put it down for a while, and it's been like 3 months since I've read any of it. And every time I pick it up and I read like a page, I'm just like, oh, I'm bored out of my mind. So that is a little bit disappointing, because I was liking it so much. But I think I maybe do just need like a long break, and maybe I'll try it again like in a year or two from now. What is your biggest surprise so far? Okay, I've got 2 books here. Die for Me by Shirlene Obuobi. Oh, I do actually have this book. I knew nothing about this author or this book. I just saw it on Libby. It was in my recommended sort of area because it was a new release. I think it had come out within a week from when I picked it up. The cover is awesome, and then the blurb was kind of different than anything I'd ever seen. It's described as a paranormal romance, and it looks like a vampire romance because like that, like, you know, mouth at the neck makes you think vampire, but it's not a vampire romance. So I was really curious because I wanted to know what sort of like paranormal thing was going on here. I was really pleasantly surprised. It's unlike any paranormal romance that I've read before, and Obuobi is just like so smart. It is a fun time sort of romance, but it's also examining like a lot of really cool, interesting themes that I don't usually see a romance go into. And I could see that from the first chapter that it was going to be looking at marriage over time and the idea of like trading in young women when they age for younger women, aging in general, age gaps and double standards for when a woman dates a younger man versus when a man dates a younger woman. Also, our main character is a cardiologist, and our author in real life is actually a cardiologist, which is so cool. Oh yeah, part of why I picked this up too was it was blurbed by Lila Sage on the back, and I love Lila Sage, who wrote I think it's called the Sweetwater Springs romance books. It's the ones with Done and Dusted, Swift and Saddled, Lost and Lassoed, those books. So I had a lot of fun reading Die for Me. And my other surprise is the Gossip Girl books. I only have read 2 of them, and it's literally only because the audiobooks don't exist. So book 1 has an audio, and then the rest of the series does not. I physically read the second book, and then the third book was just really hard to get because most of the libraries in my county don't have it. So then I went to another library to get it, but then I didn't finish it in time and I had to return it. I did check out the ebook, but I'm not a big ebook reader, so I really do just need to like suck it up and like buy the books because they're so much fun. I didn't expect to like them as much as I did. I picked them up because I was studying a lot. I was making like vision boards to kind of encourage myself to study more. And obviously, you can't have a study vision board without Blair Waldorf. I had watched Gossip Girl when I was a teenager. I started rewatching it, but I couldn't even get through the first episode. It's just like kind of slow for me, especially like when you already know what's gonna happen. So I picked up the book one day and I was just going through it and having so much fun. And I think the books are so much better than the show because in a weird way they're faster paced, because I feel like the show really drags out each plot point and it's like just back and forth of people doing the same thing over and over again. But in the book, because you have interiority, it's handled with so much more nuance, so it doesn't feel like the same problem repeating itself over and over. Even though it is, it feels like a truly different plot each time like the characters get into something, whereas in the show it just kind of felt like we were going in circles. That was so much fun. And also same thing, this author, you can tell that she's super smart from reading these characters and the way she describes them and like their motivations. It gave somebody like Serena so much more depth to me, and like I understand her so much better now, whereas in the show it was just kind of like, ugh, Serena's so annoying. That was a big surprise and that was really fun. A book that made me cry. Okay, yeah, I did read two books that made me cry this year, which is they were hard. So 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini, or Khalil Hosseini, I can't remember his first name, but Hosseini, and Know My Name by Chanel Miller. Start with 1,000 Splendid Suns. I read that with my cousin Hannah for like a book club read. That book is really famous. It's about 2 Afghan families that end up like crossing paths with each other, and it zooms in on a small small perspective of life living in a war-torn country, but on a really small individual level. And it was such an impactful book that really changed me a lot just as a person. We read about war and atrocity on like a large scale with numbers and like see these things through statistics. So it's so important to get these up close, personal, firsthand accounts. Even though this is fiction, it's still representative of a general experience of what it's like to live through some of these atrocities. So that book was really, really impactful. Honestly, I have a hard time talking about it because it did shatter me so much, but I'll put a link to a description of the book in the description of this video because I do feel like it's really important to accurately sort of tell you about it, and I don't know if I'm equipped. And then Know My Name by Chanel Miller. If you don't know who Chanel Miller, she was Jane Doe in a Stanford rape case. Yeah, kind of same thing. I'll put links for her too. It was such a beautiful reclamation of story and language and power as a woman. Maybe your experience isn't like a one-to-one mirror of what Chanel experienced, but there is still this sort of camaraderie and companionship in being a woman who has been mistreated in some way or wronged in some way, and having this perspective that she has was really powerful for me to hear and relate to in my own way. Yeah, it made me cry. I listened to it. It was read by Chanel herself, and it was a really transformative experience for me. Okay, a book that made me happy. Honestly, a lot of the books made me happy because reading a good book just like makes me inherently have the best day ever. But I'm gonna put Twice Shy by Sarah Hogle for this because it was just like the sweetest little candy slice of cake sort of book ever. It was just a really happy, fluffy romance with a super weird main character girl in a way that I really related to. This main character, her sort of defining character trait is that she's always lived with her head in the clouds. Like, she's always imagining things. She'll kind of dissociate from her regular life and regular job and things she doesn't want to do by having this coffee shop in her head where she's like, oh, I'm making pastries and I'm super cool and confident and my hair always looks good in this fantasy cafe in my head. I just really related to her because I also live in my head so much. I'm constantly imagining things. I have a really active imagination. I just thought that was really cool to see a character who had that trait. I felt very seen. And our love interest main character is sort of like a prickly exterior type of guy who actually has a really warm, sweet inside, and it was a really beautiful relationship to watch the progression of. Simultaneously, they're like cleaning out a hoarder house that gets left to both of them, which created a lot of like cute and silly situations for them to be in, and it was fun. And finally, what books do you really want to read by the end of the year? So I just wrote down all the things I'm in the middle of right now. So I mentioned in my last video that I'm reading Empire of Silence, which is book 1 of the Sun Eater series, which is a sci-fi space opera. I'm really excited to finish that. Yesteryear, like I mentioned, I do want to finish before the end of the year. I'm also reading Anna Karenina with my cousin, so I really want to finish that as well. I'm probably like 200 pages or 300 pages into that, and I do really like it. I just have put it down for a little while. I've been listening to Slouching Towards Bethlehem by Joan Didion. This is my first Didion read since high school, which I remember I kind of had a distaste or just like a feeling that I wouldn't like Joan Didion because an English teacher that I didn't really get along with really loved Joan Didion, so I just thought that I would hate her. Turns out I don't. I think Joan Didion's really smart and cool, and honestly I think that English teacher is really cool. At this age, at my teen age, I don't think I had enough life understanding to see that she was actually really cool. But if I were to meet her now, I think I'd get along with her. I ended up picking that up because I saw a video where somebody was quoting Didion's essays on self-respect, and then I listened to that essay while I was driving, and it was really great. So then I went to the beginning, and I've just been listening through, and those are really good. And it's narrated by Maya Hawke, who has an excellent narrator's voice, which is awesome. And she's married to Kristen Lee Hudson, who I love his music. That's my mid-year... God, I can't remember what it's called. Is it the Midyear Freakout Tag? Yeah, sure, that's that. Get back into cool mode. I will leave the questions in the description if you want to answer any of them in the comments. I'm always interested to know what other people are reading and get book recommendations, so totally will be reading those. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.